Yo, the world's richest man just sent a huge warning about your money in the bank. Why is he finally saying this now? Could it be related with the recent spat that he had with President Donald Trump, who just passed the big, beautiful bill that inevitably is going to lead to massive, big, beautiful printing? Or is it because his recent failure at Doge? Let's dive straight into what's going on. And of course, I am talking about Elon Musk. So what is the big posted this morning, ladies and gentlemen? You know, we say it all the time here at Simply Bitcoin. Narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet. Bitcoiners have been tagging him left and right. Elon Musk decided to launch the America Party. The reason as to why he's launching the America Party is because the big, beautiful bill would apparently increase the debt ceiling. He's been making memes about the debt ceiling, means like, what's the point of having a debt ceiling if you're not even going to follow it? And that is the reasoning as to why he's starting the America Party. He's saying, like, listen, the country's going to go broke if we continue this spending. A lot of people are making other theories as to why. The fallout with Trump, a certain list not being released. That's all I could say about that matter. And, you know, him and Trump had a pretty big fallout, right? So this is, you know, this is the richest man in the world. But this is a Bitcoin show. What does this have to do with anything? So he tweeted 17 hours ago, the America Party is the solution. And someone is basically saying, like, look, this is crazy. Both parties don't work. And Renato Lima, give him a shout out. He says, Elon Musk, will America Party embrace Bitcoin? It got 7,300 likes. And Elon said, fiat is hopeless. So, yes, that is a massive deal. Here's another tweet. This is the memes that I'm talking about, and you know, it's the, I forget what this guy's
Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson. He says tax cuts are worthless if the government keeps overspending. Inflation is the real tax. And Elon Musk says exactly. So put these both together. Elon Musk saying fiat is hopeless, and of course he is basically saying, look, inflation is a tax. And Fox News picked up on the signs, and here's their headline. Elon Musk indicates his new political party will be pro-Bitcoin, pro-gun, and pro-Bitcoin. The Second Amendment is sacred. I think this is Trump reacting to Elon, actually. Let me see if I can play the clip.
Starting a third party. I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So we can have fun with it.
So
but,
Trump is actually accurate there. Two parties have never worked in the two-party system that we have in the United States. But what I will say is, again,
you mean three parties?
Three parties have never worked in the United States. They've always just led to one candidate or the other losing votes. But the signal here is, again, what I tweeted out actually a couple weeks ago before all of this started happening. I was taking credit this morning. And I had a feeling. I had a feeling because me and Opti have been covering this about for like 6 months or so. And I said, like, listen, guys, like, Elon Musk isn't going to fix anything with Doge. Why? Because the very system benefits from the money printer. So, like, if it benefits from the money printing, it's incentivized to fight everything it can to basically end that system. And I said, hey, Elon Musk, instead of creating a new party, why don't you put your full support behind Bitcoin? As someone who believes in first principles thinking, you'd be addressing the root cause of the problem, because that's the problem, right? Whether it's a Democrat or Republican, regardless of who you vote into power, both parties do exactly the same thing. They print money and they spend money that we don't have, creating a bigger and bigger deficit and basically kicking the can down the road. And I said, look, if you're really about first principles, like, Bitcoin is the party. Like, instead of like focusing on the left or the right, just get a portion of American citizens or wherever you're from, whatever country you're from, holding Bitcoin, having Bitcoin in self-custody, And it will be this grassroots movement from the bottom up instead of from this top down. Creating a third party isn't going to work. I agree with Trump. It's been tried in the past. And again, it just leads to another, a certain candidate getting more votes because essentially that candidate bleeds votes to this alternative third party. That's what happened in the George Bush Sr. and the Bill Clinton election. You could make an argument that the third candidate actually cost George Bush Sr. his second term. So anyways, so I tag Elon Musk and I say, hey, look, instead of creating a new party, why don't you put your full support behind Bitcoin? That was July 1st. This tweet got 3,000 likes. That's a lot of likes, right? And then a couple days later, and I've been tagging him like crazy, Elon Musk says, hey, you know what? Fiat is hopeless. So yes, so his new party will embrace Bitcoin. So this goes back to something that I've been talking about for a very long time now, which is, guys, the power is in your hands. Narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet, right? I'm tweeting about it. People are responding. Renato Lima is tweeting about it. He's responding to Elon Musk. Elon is admitting that fiat is hopeless, that fiat money is a scam. He's admitting that, hey, look, tax cuts don't even matter. If the government is overspending, it creates inflation, and inflation is a tax, right? This is how we win. This is narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet. And remember, Elon has a history with Bitcoin. Back in 2020, before he got tapped on the shoulder, Bitcoin, Elon said, Bitcoin is my safe word. And at that moment, Elon actually allowed you to buy Teslas with Bitcoin before he got tapped on the shoulder. And Tesla till this day holds about 10,000 Bitcoin. Now, this is a commentary account. I don't think this is the official America Party account, but it says crypto is a threat. It's a tool to decentralize power, protect value, and build systems that actually work. The America Party supports technology that gives you more control. A follow-up to Michael Saylor posting, some weeks you just need to hodl. The America Party responds with, some weeks you just need to hodl. Some decades you need a new political party. The America Party, built for what's next. And I follow that up with, Bitcoin is the political party. You will cost the only pro-Bitcoin party votes. Advocate for the adoption of Bitcoin, save time, and save money. Mind you, that tweet came out July 6th, and Elon, again, the pressure baby, admitting that fiat money's a scam, that fiat money's hopeless, admitting that inflation is a tax. I think it's just a matter of time. His companies hold Bitcoin. SpaceX holds Bitcoin. Tesla owns Bitcoin. It's one of the highest holders of Bitcoin. Yeah, bro. I mean, I think this is this is a big deal. The richest man in the world basically advocating for Bitcoin. Now, my only concern here, Opti, I'm going to pass it on to you before we continue discussion, is this might cost the Republican Party votes. And whether you like the Republican Party or not, they have been pro-Bitcoin. The entire party is pro-Bitcoin. So I'm worried that we're going to have a George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton type of election 2.0, and this costs Republicans, Senate seats or House seats, and then all of a sudden you have the anti-Bitcoin party basically winning, and then the anti-Bitcoin party basically reverses all the things that the Trump administration has done. Because, listen, whether you like Trump or not, and I went hard on Trump in the paint a couple weeks ago when the whole war thing started, which he literally promised he wouldn't start. He did end Operation Choke Point 2.0. He did free Ross Ulbricht. There was breaking news today, by the way, that July 22nd, the administration is going to drop a report, and it's going to show how much Bitcoin the government has and if they acquired more Bitcoin. So I think the Trump administration has been extremely pro-Bitcoin. That's my only concern with this new America Party. But it leads to something that I've been telling you for months, for years now, Opti. All roads lead to Bitcoin. Elon tried to fix the system within the system. You can't fix the system within the system because the very system itself is funded by the fiat money printer. The only way to fix the system is to create an alternative system. And that's exactly what Bitcoin is. So Elon, whether he's pandering or whether he's coming to the realization because of all the people tagging him, hey, listen, Elon, Bitcoin fixes this. Regardless of the reason, he's finally starting to see the light. He's saying inflation is a scam. Inflation is a tax. Fiat is worthless. My new party will support Bitcoin. And what have we been saying for the last couple of months? I will support, Simply Bitcoin will support whatever party, whatever individual candidate supports Bitcoin. Because if you fix the money, you fundamentally fix the world. Anyways, happy to be back. Opti holding it down last week for me while I was traveling. I went to Canada for the Bitcoin rodeo. That was a whole lot of fun. Happy to be back. Opti, what's your take on this, man? Elon, the richest man in the world. I know you're not a big fan, dude, but he is calling fiat a scam. He is saying that fiat is worthless. Moving the Overton window, bro, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, first point about Elon, essentially, you know, influential, world's richest man. I think whether you like him or hate him, everyone knows his name. And to come out and essentially say the quiet part out loud, the fiat is hopeless. It is, you know, a cult that is a non-active one, you know, taxation. The real taxation is inflation. I love the fact that he's saying this. Will people actually listen? I think it might be the bigger question here is, are people actually going to listen to what Elon Musk is saying? Will they take this warning and run with it? Because as we know, as Bitcoiners, this is probably the biggest issue going on. I know there's other issues in the world right now, but the runaway train, as Lynn Alden always calls it, the amount of spending that these governments do is on a level that is astronomical, and it's really stealing from the future to try to drive productivity in the present. And it's really setting the course and the trajectory of where not only this country is going, but where planet Earth is going. And so I love that he's out here saying this. Again, I don't have too much faith in Elon Musk being like a you know, an ardent Bitcoin maxi, but I think the point remains the same. The fact that he is kind of disillusioned with government. Again, I saw some tweets and some people, some anecdotal takes around Musk. Like when he got into the office for Doge, he was really excited. You can tell that he really believed what he was saying to try to cut government spending. And Doge was basically an utter failure at this point. And then him, you know.
No, but I would say that Doge is an utter failure because I would say the party that Musk put money behind. By the way, shout out to the 1,200 people watching live between YouTube and X. Smash the like button if you guys are enjoying the content. But I wouldn't say Doge is a failure because Doge is a failure. I think the very system itself resisted the cuts.
Yeah, that's my point.
And then he got disillusioned, and he's like, I'm starting a third party. This is absolute madness.
That is my point.
Like, we thought we were going to have fiscal conservatism, and we were going to spend beyond the budget. You know, this big, beautiful bill is spending, it's basically setting the United States on course to spend more money than it collects in tax revenue. And this is the big problem. This is the fundamental problem. And if you are to believe Elon, because there are a lot of motivations here, apparently part of the new bill it ended the EV mandate. And a lot of people are speculating that Elon is pissed off because the EV mandate got ended. But, you know, his reason, his official reason, Elon's official reason is basically like, look, like, if the U.S. keeps spending the way it's spending, it's going to go broke. And this is why I'm creating the America Party. Now, as Bitcoiners, right, like, all I'm seeing is basically the Overton window moving and shifting, and a third party backed by the world's richest man basically saying the quiet part out loud after 6 days of us tagging him on Twitter, and he's admitting that fiat is a scam. He's admitting that inflation is a form of taxation. This is how you win. And his new party, by the way, is created for the centrists. It's created for the people in the middle. It's created for the people that are tired of the whole left-right thing. They're just like, dude, like, I just want a sensible government that kind of does their job. I don't know if that's possible. But, like, you know, this is why he's creating this party, right? He's disillusioned with the system. He was inside the system. The system fought him tooth and nail, and he says enough is enough. It's time for a change. Is he going to be successful? I don't know. But I will tell you this. A third party that's pro-Bitcoin. The Republican Party, they're pro-Bitcoin. We're winning. This is what winning looks like. The Overton window is shifting. Now, all we need is a sitting U.S. president, and this is going to happen within the decade. I'm calling it right now. This is going to happen within the decade. we are going to have a president in the White House sooner rather than later that's going to say inflation is a scam. That's going to say fiat money is a scam. Remember, this isn't too far-fetched. Not too long ago, there was Trump at a press conference that basically said that, look, Bitcoin is a good thing. It actually takes pressure off the dollar. Remember that press conference? So, like, yes, we need a president in the White House like Andrew Jackson that wants to end central banking, that wants to end the Federal Reserve. That's the problem. That's what's creating wealth inequality. That's why the younger generations can't afford anything. That's the real problem. That's the real issue. But remember, the very system itself is funded by the central bank. So expect a lot of pushback. But, dude, in terms of the Overton window shifting, in terms of us making progress, we're making tons of progress, bro. We're winning. The world's richest man just told everybody on X, fiat is hopeless. Inflation is a form of taxation. Opti.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Nico. That's the whole point that I was trying to get across is like whether it was Doge failing or the system itself is designed in such a way, I think him being in the belly of the beast proved to himself, hey, this thing it doesn't work the way it's set up right now. Now, I think he's misguided with this idea of like, oh, a third party will fix it. It literally reminds me of, you know, hey, if we just vote the right people in positions of power, then things will change. It's like, no, this system is designed in this way and nothing will stop it unless you basically eliminate the control of the money printer. And so I applaud the effort from Musk. I think it is one of those defining moments, and I think people will kind of, at the very least, on the surface, look at what Musk is doing, and it's like, hey, maybe he has a point. From like a more Bitcoin, Austrian economics, first principles kind of perspective, though, I think he's fundamentally flawed. It's not a new third party that needs to come up and take power and put the right people in position. It's the fact that the money printer is the driving force behind politics, and if they can control the money, then it doesn't matter what else they do because everything is being backed by the money printer here. So as much as I kind of think that this is an important cultural moment here where Elon Musk, you know, either the world's richest man or one of the world's richest men, depending on what list you're looking at, comes out basically saying what we've been saying for a long time. Hey, fiat is doomed. Fiat is hopeless. There's nothing in the system, the fiat system, fiat politics that can actually change with how it's set up right now. This is why we fundamentally think take your money, take your wealth out of the fiat system, save in Bitcoin, and as the fiat system, the money printer starts to get defunded, then these government powers will be in check. And this is what it's all about. It's all about power here. And I agree with Trump on that clip where he's like, look, a third-party system, it's not going to do anything. There's been a lot of third parties that don't do anything here. If anything, as Nico was saying, it's going to make things worse for the right now. So but I want him to go full Bitcoin. Will he get there?
I don't want to do the whole right and left thing because we want to be inclusive on the show. But like you guys gotta look at it from like the political landscape, right? Like the Republican Party has fully embraced Bitcoin, right? The New America Party has fully embraced Bitcoin. The Democratic Party has not embraced Bitcoin yet. In fact, there are elements of the Democratic Party, forget about right and left, that are actively hostile towards Bitcoin, and they're actively working for a central bank digital currency. So my only fear here is that by Elon creating a new third party, it might take votes away from the Republican Party. And as much as the Republican Party is not perfect, right, it could potentially set it up where it allows the anti-Bitcoin party to, and it's not monolithic, I want to be very specific here, but it allows a party that is more hostile towards Bitcoin to potentially win, right? Now, I'm sure that's going to change in the future, but I just want to pull you guys an example of what it is I'm talking about. But before we do that, I do want to read, I'm not fully, but I want to read some of Beautyon's takes.
I was going to bring that up.
So this is,
did you bring it up?
So so Beautyon posted this a while ago, and I'm going to say it in a certain way for it to be friendly, right? So Beautyon posted this on in May, and he said Elon's mistake was his belief in the system and that politicians are motivated by the good of the people and not self-interest and greed above all else. Had he realized this, he would have never embarked on his campaign to reform government. Government workers and the state itself doesn't seek reform. This is the key piece. This is what Bitcoiners knew from the very beginning. It seeks at minimum the status quo and at all times to increase the pelf levels. The correct analysis of the problem is understanding that the form of money and the ability to print it out of nothing is the natural constraint that needs to be imposed, not regulation or reform or efficiency. Once the state can't print money at will, the automatic result will be the constraint of the spending of the state because there is no money, right? We are one step closer to that once you see these types of tweets. Once you see these types of memes being posted, we are one step closer to having someone in a position of power that understands that it's not the system that's broken. It's the fact that the system can just print money at will. That is what is broken. And the way that you end that is by ending central banking, right? Anyways, so next thing I want to show is a post by Max Kaiser. And he's referencing, we're going to talk about this during the news, by the way. And again, the America Party responding to Michael Saylor. Again, guys, it's just happening so quickly, right? So anyways, there we go. All right, let me have that lined up, ready to go. Okay, so Max Kaiser says, MNAV crash, maybe not. This is why we see Saylor embracing Elon today, to remove the seizure risk of MSTR by the U.S. government. There are lots of ways to navigate the global hash war and come out on top if these two cooperate, right? And he's taking a screenshot of Michael Saylor, says, some weeks you just need to hodl. And Elon's America Party says, some weeks you just need to hodl. Some decades you need a new political party. The America Party built for what comes next, right? And again, I have to specify, though, that it's not affiliated with Elon Musk. It's a commentary account, but regardless, Elon's been going pretty ham on X talking about this new party. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, the richest man in the world, who has benefited from the fiat system itself, has just said fiat is hopeless. And he requoted a meme, says tax cuts are worthless if the government keeps overspending. Inflation is the real tax. The Band-Aid has been removed. Now, here is the only danger, ladies and gentlemen. I got to say this. I got to pull this up. We got to go back in history. So back in 1992, after the Reagan Revolution, remember, Reagan won 2 terms in a row, right? So he won the 1980 election, and then he won the 1984 election. And then he did such a good job that this usually doesn't happen in American politics. What tends to happen is there's switching between the parties. His vice president, George H.W. Bush, the father of George W. Bush, he won. So 3 Republicans won in a row. And then what happened in the 1992 election, and this is my only concern, is that there was 3 parties, right? So there was and Opti apparently is a fan of this person.
Yeah, Ross Perot, he's huge in Dallas.
So there was 3 parties, and what happened? So of course you had Bill Clinton against the incumbent. Usually the incumbent president wins, right? And Bill Clinton won. But let's break down the numbers, right? So the popular vote, he won by 44 million votes. George H.W. Bush won 39 million votes. Now take a look at how many votes Ross Perot won. He won 20 million votes. So you can make a very strong argument, and I'm assuming if he's from Texas, he's pro-freedom.
He's super based.
Okay. So I'm assuming you can make a very strong argument that the majority of those 19 million votes, right, could have gone to George H.W.
Yeah, but Perot's more based.
Okay, this is the point I'm trying to make, is the America Party is probably more based, right? But this is what Trump was saying in this video that I was playing for you guys in the beginning, right? This has never worked out historically. This has never worked out. This has never worked out historically. This is why he's saying it's ridiculous. But anyways, that's the only danger with a third party, right? The only danger with a third party is you're taking votes away from whoa, what is that?
Nice ad.
You're taking votes away from the pro-Bitcoin pro-Bitcoin party, right? That's the only issue with the third party. I know it's with good intention, but that's what happens. And by the way,
well, now we can see which one's more pro-Bitcoin.
It happened in 1996 as well, right? He got less votes this time around, right? And then back in 2000, we were back to 2, right? So that's the only issue with the third party, is that it costs votes from certain candidates. This is a two-party system. Like, Trump is 100% right there. But again, I want to share 2 more points to kind of wrap it up and put a nice bow on top. Narrative trench warfare, ladies and gentlemen. The reason we got Elon Musk to say these types of things is because of posts like these, also, right? You know, you're going in there and you're saying, hey, Elon Musk, will you embrace Bitcoin, right? I'm saying this too, tagging Elon Musk, right? Saying, hey, Elon, you know, like, instead of creating a new party, will you embrace Bitcoin? This is how you get these types of results. This is how you get this. This is how you get Elon saying fiat is hopeless, right? This is how you get Elon reposting these types of things. Narrative trench warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet. Now, Opti, we did get a couple super chats.
Yeah, we're not reading them. Thank you, Mexico Huddle, but we're not reading those.
No, but before that, we got one for $20.
Yeah, it was Mexico Huddle. We're not reading them. They got shit coins.
Oh. Yeah, we can't. Dude, what are you doing? Anyways,
he's trolling.
I appreciate the super chats, though.
Yeah, thanks for the super chats.
I do want to give a shout out to today's live stream. Almost 2,000 people watching live between YouTube and X. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. You are watching Simply Bitcoin Live. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the breaking news today, the richest man in the world has confirmed that fiat is worthless and that inflation is a form of taxation. The Overton window is shifting. It's only a matter of time, Opti, before the world wakes up. Right. And again, guys, it's important to remember it's not left versus right. You got to vote for candidates that are pro-Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. Bitcoin is the party. Bitcoin is the party. It's as simple as that. Vote for people that support Bitcoin. It fixes everything else, top to bottom. You fix the money, you fix the world. The problem with the world right now is the money is broken. It's inherently broken. Governments have a monopoly on the creation of money. They're doubling down. Look at what's happening in Europe. We're not going to cover that today. We're going to cover that tomorrow. They're doubling down on CBDCs. They want to retain that monopoly. They want to maintain that monopoly and control over money. And you're the one footing the bill. Make no mistake, every time they debase the currency, you are paying for it. It's a form of taxation. And if you are in the lower and middle classes, it affects you the most because you don't have the means to save in assets. So you save in fiat. So every time they debase, guess what happens to your savings? It loses purchasing power. It's a terrible world. And the rich, the very wealthy, the people that do have the means to save in assets, guess what happens when they print money? Their assets go through the roof, right? The asset prices. Look, in 2021, we experienced hyperinflation. It just wasn't hyperinflation in consumer goods. It was hyperinflation in real estate. It was hyperinflation in the stock market. All of it doubled. Do you think the value of real estate doubled? Do you think the value of the stock market doubled? No. It was hyperinflating, right? This is the reality of the world. So you got to fix the money, fix the world. And the way that you do that is by electing candidates that are pro-Bitcoin. But the most important vote you can make is buying Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, mining Bitcoin, and then putting that Bitcoin to self-custody. If enough of the population does that, we win by default, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Opti, thoughts before we move on?
No. If you don't like politics, buy Bitcoin. This is simple.
I love that. All right, everybody. Before we move on to the next segment, I do want to give a very special shout out, of course, to our lead sponsor. Guys, Simply Bitcoin out our sponsors. So if you guys want to support the show, go check out these awesome companies that support the show. First one, our lead sponsor, bitcoinwell.com. This is by far the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. To get started, you put in your email address here. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to sign up, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. If you're a higher net worth individual looking to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, and you want a tailored white glove service that basically you can call or text anytime you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, you got to check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC to get started. Set up a meeting with them. It's absolutely free. They'll walk you through everything. This is a white glove service, Bitcoin Well Infinite. And again, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points. And you could use those points towards a bunch of different prizes, like a Simply Bitcoin hoodie, a stamp seed, an orange Cybertruck, or you can play the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we're going to do live for you guys right now. Every time you toss a coin into the wishing well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. Today's prize is 536 sats. By the way, if you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today, bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well for an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats every single time. All right, everybody, let's start the show. We have tons to cover. Let's check it out. Here we go. Bing, bam, bing. I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today. All right, everybody, we are back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 107,000. Bitcoin is a stable coin. Holy cow, man. You know, when Trump was inaugurated, the price of Bitcoin was 109,000. 7 months later. 7 months, right? 7 months later, we're back at 107,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin is a stable coin. Block height, 904,483. Sats per dollar, 928. Market cap, 2.14 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.17%. Decline from all-time high, negative 3.7%. Realized monetary inflation, that go up? Dude, that's weird. That went up. Anyways, so what I want to talk about today is this. I keep seeing this image over and over again on Bitcoin Twitter. Opti, could you make us actually, let me just make this bigger. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So I will in a second. I just want to read this. I keep seeing this over and over and over again on X. And apparently a lot of you guys felt the same way, or else it wouldn't have got as many likes, right? And I said, is there an actual correlation, or is the data being manipulated to paint a certain narrative? And what am I explaining? So you guys have seen this. If you guys are on X, on Twitter, you guys have seen this post. And it's basically the global M2 money supply and the Bitcoin price, right? And people keep making the argument, hey, you know what? It's correlated. You know, like Bitcoin's just catching up the M2 money supply. And I'm like thinking like to myself, I'm like, dude, like, is that the case? Like, is this actually really true? And here are two people that I highly respect in terms of, you know, like market analysis. We have Sina, who came out with the Quantile model, right? And then we have, of course, Checkmatey, and Checkmatey is a very popular Substack kind of doing like this Bitcoin analysis. Where are we in the Bitcoin bull market, et cetera, et cetera. Big fan of it. Big fan of him and his work. So Sina is basically saying, I had the misfortune of having to discuss it. So Sina's not a big fan. And Checkmatey says, it's a BS chart. They take monthly or even quarterly government-issued M2 data and multiply it by USD exchange rate, then tweak the shift until it looks bullish. Correlated over quarters to years, but not the way it's presented. Classic chart crime. So that's an answer to your question, right? And then Checkmatey goes on to reply to certain people. Cope harder, lol. It's highly correlated on a medium time frame. Checkmate says, might want to reread the tweet, mate. And it goes on to say, I mean, literally. And Wrathful Buddha says, so your issue with the chart is it usually tends to be presented in such a way that suggests there will be a massive breakout tomorrow, whereas over long time frame, there is absolutely an undeniable close correlation. Checkmatey says, yes, it's also dishonest manipulation of the data. It's really measuring the DXY in a roundabout way. And it goes on to, someone goes on to say, I don't know, mate, it looks pretty correlated over three-month time frame, even going back to 2016 bull run. Please refer to third sentence. So what is the third sentence? Correlated over quarters to years, but not the way it's presented. So the TLDR, ladies and gentlemen, is there is a correlation between the M2 money supply, the global M2 money supply, but it's not this tight. It's correlated over years and quarters, but it's not correlated the way they're framing it out to be. And this was my suspicion, right? This is why I asked Bitcoin X or Bitcoin Twitter. I said, like, hey, guys, like, this feels like it's being manipulated to paint a certain narrative, because if this were true, everyone would know exactly where the Bitcoin price is going. And I think what this market has shown, what this bull market has shown, is that no one has any effing idea where the price is going to go. We are in completely uncharted territory. That being said, it wouldn't be Monday if I didn't end with something very bullish. This is an account that I've been following, and it basically follows the power law model, and it adjusts basically the prices of the different cycles, but it also takes into account that, of course, the market cap is a lot bigger, the times have changed. But I love this model. I love it. I love it. So I couldn't just start with Checkmatey and, you know, this thing with the M2 being bearish without a bullish tweet, kind of finishing up the numbers. So let's check this out. So it's Bitcoin power law, power curve time contours. And then let me play the video. Overlaying 4-year cycles, expecting a strong Q3 and Q4. So here's 2013, here's 2017, here's 2021, and here's 2025. So let's play it. So Bitcoin all-time high price, power curve, time contours, right? 5 years ahead of support. And then here are the different cycle peaks and tops, right? And then you're putting them all together, right? And then you put them here. And then I mean, it pretty much looks.
And then you get a 200 or 300K top. Let's go.
Like, it looks like, and here is like the last frame frozen. So if you compare the cycles, it doesn't look like this year's cycle is doing so well. But if you adjust for the power law and you adjust for the fact that the market cap is a lot bigger, and you take a look at where the tops are, the tops have always been around the same place. So 2017, 2013, 2021. I think 2021 was a little bit different because of the China mining ban. But, you know, again, like, all you need to do is pick one of those tops, bro. And you're in the 200K, 200, or almost 300K region if we have a 2017 type of vibe. So let's see. I personally, bro, I'm extremely bullish for Q3. I think Q3 and Q4 is going to be extremely explosive. Opti, what do you think? I know we're heading into speculation territory, but this is the numbers segment. This is literally what it's for.
I just want to acknowledge the fact that now Nico's getting bullish because he sees some chart crime. I'm okay with this. I like this. First of all, though, to the M2 liquidity chart, it does seem to not be fully correlated. Also, I saw another tweet thread about it, and I couldn't find it. I didn't like it this morning. I should have liked it. I didn't know you were going to talk about this. But he was essentially saying that the M2 global liquidity chart that everyone's kind of pointing towards right now is China and I believe India's money printing right now. And the U.S. is only really accounting for like 5% of that money printing happening. If you look at the U.S.'s M2 supply. And so I think it's almost even more bullish than what we're seeing. Yes, it doesn't fully correlate. Yes, you know, that chart is some blatant chart crime there. But I think the point does kind of remain the same. And I think Checkmate kind of acknowledged that as well. It's like, yes, Bitcoin does follow global liquidity. I think everyone knows this, but it doesn't necessarily follow that chart exactly. And as we are seeing, there is an incredible amount of money printing happening right now. As we all know, the big, beautiful bill just passed, and they're going to basically turn on the money printers themselves. So maybe that chart doesn't align perfectly, but I think the fundamentals of it, I guess, if you could even say that, like the idea of it does kind of track. And it's the idea, more global liquidity, it's got to find a home. Eventually, it will find a home in Bitcoin. Now, on that last chart, the power curve law chart or whatever they call it now, I don't know if they're true, but I love anything that tells me that I'm right, that we're going to see 200, 300K by the end of the year. Though the timing is kind of interesting. If you looked at that chart, it said somewhere around September, December. So it kind of aligns for a while on this show that, hey, we might have a kind of slow summer. It's going to be a explosive end of the year.
I'm starting to buy into the extended bull market.
Me too. Though I do want to say something, Nico, on here, and we could debate it a little bit. Like if you do look at this chart, I know you've been making the rounds and you've been a bear on the show, and you're like, it's extremely disappointing in terms of price action.
Bro,
but look at this chart here. The chart is basically showing like, yeah, maybe it's not what 2021 kind of early top before it double top, but based on the 2013 and the 2017 cycle, to me, it looks like it's right on time. That looks like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing right there. So I don't know. Maybe it's the optimistic orange glasses here, but it looks like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing.
I mean, according to this, yeah, again, you have to adjust for the fact that the market's a lot bigger.
True.
Right? You have to adjust for the fact of the power law. So essentially, everything takes twice as every cycle. Basically the TLDR, the way that you guys have to see it is that everything takes twice as long. Right. That's essentially the case that's been made right now. Again, what I will say is that I've been following a lot of people and no one has got this right. This cycle has been completely it's very, very difficult to kind of figure out what's happening. And what I will say is I think, and it was Mauricio, co-founder of Ledin, that was talking about this. The reason is because this cycle is primarily being driven by institutional money, aka smart money. So what happens? They're not just going on Bitcoin well and smash buying Bitcoin. No. They're doing it in a way not to run up the price, right? They're doing it in a strategic way. There's a reason it's called smart money. They don't want to buy $500 million worth of Bitcoin and the price for it to go up 20%. They don't want to do that. In fact, they would actually want the price to go down so they can buy those cheap sats. Now, the thing is, eventually, like a beach ball that you put under the water, eventually it's just going to shoot up. It's just a matter of time. And the more time Bitcoin continues being a stable coin, because I think it has like an identity crisis right now, that's better for Bitcoin long term. Right? Because then you have a stronger, healthier kind of run up, right? So this is really, really good for, like a long-term bull market cycle. But for, the people that have experienced the previous cycles and have gotten those crazy dopamine hits, right? The 2017 dopamine hits of Bitcoin just 2, 3, 4, 5xing in a matter of months. Like, yeah, it sucks. I'm not going to lie. It does suck, right? I see Opti looking at the charts right now.
Yeah. Well, I was cleaning it up. It was dirty.
Right?
But I agree with Toby here. As long as the chart crime is bullish, I'm fine with it.
I also asked people in the chat. By the way, guys, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, we're almost at 200 likes. Smash that like button. We're at 187 likes, so smash that like button. Shout out to the 100 of you guys watching live on Rumble. Love Rumble. Big fan of Rumble. Rumble is absolutely huge. It's massive. And, of course, shout out to the 1,700 of you guys watching live on X. I asked you guys on YouTube right now. Right now it's at 50-50. 50-50 this poll right now. I said, will we get a 2017 blow off top? 43 votes right now. 51% of you guys said no. 49%, 48% says yes. Basically, this tells me that no one has any idea what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, it's going to be an incredible show. We still have tons of bullish news to cover. Ladies and gentlemen, STRD announces a $4.2 billion program to buy even more Bitcoin. So we're going to be doing a deep dive analysis of what this program is. I got a couple screenshots of the presentation. I'm going to be breaking down what those screenshots represent, and it's going to be a great show. And then also big breaking, ultra breaking, massive breaking, the Trump administration to publish on Bitcoin and crypto policy around July 22nd. Quote, it may include recommendations on funding a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's right. July 22nd, put it in your calendar. That might be the day that the United States government, the executive branch, officially announces that they bought Bitcoin, or how they're going to buy Bitcoin, or that they have the intention of buying Bitcoin, which would be insanely awesome. So once again, I'm going to keep saying what I've been saying for many, many months now. This has been one of the most bullish cycles from a news perspective, but from a price action perspective, it still has not caught up just yet. All right, everybody, let's move on to the news segment. We will be right back in just 1 second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card.
All right, everybody. Opti is holding the beautiful cold. I got to make this full screen, dude, or else it won't do it justice. Look at that. That's the Cold Card Q, but in orange, baby. Look at that. Absolutely.
This orange one's so sexy.
Absolutely beautiful. They have it in different colors, guys. You want it in black and green and see-through, like the original see-through one. You could do that.
Tight. Purple one's kind of tight.
The purple one. I got the red one, but the orange one, like, look at that. Like, this is the best hardware wallet in the game. They make different colors. Get yourself a Cold Card today. Go to coldcard.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store. Coldcard.com. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin using the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. in the game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Saylor continues to gobble up all the Bitcoin in freaking existence. Right now, after this announcement, he's going to own 600,000 Bitcoin. That's 3% of the effing supply. That is absolutely massive. That is huge. That is fantastic. That is fabulous. It's so much corn. That's too much corn. Is it too much corn? It's a lot of corn.
Never too much corn.
It makes me feel incredibly poor, bro. 600,000 Bitcoin. Holy cow. Anyway, so he made an announcement about this, and we're going to go through some of the details about this. Let me be specific here. Strategy announces a $4.2 billion STRD at the market program. So I did a little bit of a kind of a, summary of why this is massive. So Michael Saylor's company Strategy just dropped a bombshell that they're launching a $4.2 billion stock offering to raise money. And you guessed it, they're using to buy more Bitcoin. So what's actually happening? Strategy is selling a special type of stock called STRD preferred shares. This isn't your regular stock. It pays a 10% dividend, but Strategy only has to pay it if they choose to. They're selling it a bit by bit on the open market to raise funds. Why does it matter? They're doing this so they could buy more Bitcoin on the top of the 597,000 BTC they already hold. That's nearly 3% of the supply. Bitcoin pumped from 82K to 108K in Q2. This gives Strategy a $14 billion in unrealized gains. With momentum on their side, they're doubling down. So what's the big picture? The move shows that Strategy is all in on Bitcoin as money, not fiat. They're betting their entire corporate future on BTC becoming the global reserve asset. It gives a giant middle finger to the fiat system and a playbook for corporations to monetize their stock to acquire hard money. Now, that leads me to this next picture, right? So, Strategy's Bitcoin holdings versus Bitcoin biggest corporate treasuries. I'm going to make a call here. And Opti, we've been more accurate than we have been wrong on Simply Bitcoin. And we're not even journalists, right? I think we just use common sense or Bitcoin sense, maybe. Maybe you could phrase it that way. So here's the TLDR. So this is Michael Saylor. This is Strategy, right? And these are all these companies from Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Ford, Meta, General Motors, Exxon, NVIDIA, PayPal, CVS, and Strategy is sitting at number 11. Mind you, this was a company that less than 5 years ago had a market cap less than $1 billion. Now, just its Bitcoin holdings alone make it 11 in terms of companies that are holding assets or cash equivalents or Bitcoin holdings. I'm going to speculate a little bit here. I'm going to rub my 8-ball. I'm going to, speculate into the future, make a call, make a prediction. If things stand and none of these companies, NVIDIA, Exxon, General Motors, Meta, Ford, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, or Berkshire Hathaway do nothing, I guarantee you that Strategy by the end of the decade will be at the top of the list. Because just with the 2X, it puts it on par with Apple. Just with the 3X, it makes it basically the second biggest company holding. Just doing nothing. They're not doing anything. They're not, selling a product. They're just holding a superior asset to cash and cash equivalents. And this is the point that Michael Saylor is trying to prove. So while everyone else holds cash, Strategy is the only one doing this with Bitcoin. They're not just making a statement. They're changing what a modern corporate treasury is. While Apple and Microsoft hold dollars, Strategy holds hard money. And they're signaling to the world that Bitcoin isn't a hedge anymore. It's the standard. Now that brings me to the second slide that Michael Saylor showed in his presentation. So 97% of institutional capital is mandated to equity and capital. 30x more institutional capital available for BTC equity and BTC credit compared to BTC in commodity form. So what is the significance of this? Only 3% of global institutional capital is even allowed to touch commodities like Bitcoin, but 97% is locked into equity and credit mandates. That's why STRD is wrapping Bitcoin inside equity. That's why the STRD stock is such a big deal, because global institutions can't buy spot Bitcoin, but they can buy exposure to Bitcoin through equities through the STRD stock, and eventually credit products, because it opens the door to 30 times bigger pools of capital. Now I get what you're saying as a Bitcoiner. Nico, why does all this matter? Like, what is the significance of all this? Well, the significance of this is when we're at this size of a market cap, when we're sitting pretty at $2.1 trillion, plebs buying buying $100 of Bitcoin isn't going to move the needle anymore, ladies and gentlemen. If we want to get to the market cap of gold, you need the Microsofts, the Googles, the billionaires of the world, not smash buying $100 worth of Bitcoin, but smash buying $500 million worth of Bitcoin, or $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, or $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. That is what's going to move the needle, right? And this is what Saylor fundamentally understands, and that's why he's creating products for companies to get exposure to Bitcoin despite the regulatory hurdles and requirements. So this is absolutely massive. Michael Saylor is a savant, essentially. He really understands the game, and I think his experience, his 20 years experience in the capital markets, is allowing him to come up with financial products that allow institutions and high net worth individuals to get exposure to Bitcoin without having to deal with the regulatory hurdles. And then, of course, that's profitable for his company. Of course, he's using the fiat system to raise money to buy something that has absolute scarcity, which is Bitcoin, which eventually is going to make the price go up. And this is a all-in type of play. If Bitcoin, you have to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. If Bitcoin does not go up 5 years from now, MicroStrategy is done. It's over. He, by definition, is going all in. This is something that I think a lot of us have done in this show. We've gone all in. Me and Opti have gone all in. We've been all in for like 9-10 years now. Like, don't look back, right? I wish we had exposure. I wish we had the same tools that Saylor has. But we don't, because we're plebs. But dude, eventually the beach ball is going to explode and go out of the pool and go out of the water, and it's going to reach new heights, the likes of which have never been seen before. And then you sprinkle in the fact that you have a pro Bitcoin administration that isn't trying to destroy Bitcoin, by attacking it from a regulatory perspective. And you're creating a perfect situation where in the next, 4 years or so during Trump's second term, dude, like, I think we're going to see some crazy heights. I think we're going to see some crazy heights, to say the least, bro. I wouldn't be surprised with $500,000 Bitcoin by the end of Trump's term. And then this term, this cycle specifically, I wouldn't be surprised with 200K Bitcoin, dude, either. So anyways, Opti, what's your take, brother?
Yeah, well, I watched the Saylor call this morning. It was like 40 minutes. Just trying to wrap my head around what Saylor's actually doing, because I'm not going to claim to understand what his game plan is or what exactly all these products were, but he did a great job kind of explaining what is actually going on with these products. And if you pull up that 97% chart again. There's a few points in there. Obviously, he did a whole rundown of all the things around Bitcoin. No, the other one. Actually, you can stay here though. Just This chart itself is pretty crazy. I was going to bring this up before you brought this chart up, but the fact that Saylor is, or rather strategy, you know, has been catapulted to the number 11 spot of biggest corporate treasuries just simply by holding Bitcoin is just, it's just nuts to say the least. And I think your prediction isn't that crazy. I think he will be the number 1 biggest corporate treasury, period. And we saw the $14 billion unrealized gains is like, I forget. I think they said in the presentation, I think they're up there in like the top 5 or the top 10 gains out of all the companies. So this chart right here doesn't have like financial corporate treasuries, which are like the big banks and stuff, but his unrealized gains for Q1 is on par with some of those big financial behemoths that we all know and love. The other one, the 97% one. So as everyone in the chat, or even people, and I am going to kind of talk about corporate treasuries in general in the culture, but if you pull
the culture is corporate treasury.
Yeah. It's all the rage. No, the other chart. Pull up the other chart. All right. So when they were talking about this chart, he said a few important things that I think a lot of people can't really wrap their head around. And, you know, myself being one of them, this is why I watched the call this morning, and I'm trying to understand what Saylor is actually doing. And before he showed this slide, he basically said, look, everyone asks me, why should I even care about these products when I should just buy Bitcoin directly? And he's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, you should be buying Bitcoin directly. But when you put this chart and you kind of understand what's going on here, as it says, 97% of institutional capital is mandated. Again, keyword mandated to buy equity and credit. And that's a 30x compared to what you see at the very bottom, that $3 trillion that can go into commodities. And so essentially what's going on is like, yes, the status, the view that we talk about here constantly, you know, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, that's exactly what you should be doing on an individual level or even on a small business level. Like your private business, just put Bitcoin on the treasury. You're going to have a longer runway. That's what, you know, we constantly talk about. But as we're seeing, Bitcoin is maturing. It is, you know, essentially, for better words, being financialized right now. And there's still a ton of capital that can't find its way by law into Bitcoin. And so a lot of these products, what are the STRK, STRD, STRF, and of course MSTR itself, are basically like tailored products for different types of investors out there. And so every product is hitting a different type of investor. And I find that really interesting that, hey, look, I may not fully understand what's going on, but he is creating these securities for these investors to get into Bitcoin. And the way that they're doing it is, as we all know, you know, this perfect feedback loop where everything that Saylor is doing, whether you like him or not, he's trying to do one thing. He's essentially trying to increase the price of Bitcoin so that his products do that much better. And so when you kind of think of it in that sense, it's like, all right, so for, you know, everyday people like us, we should just probably follow the Saylor strategy and we just buy Bitcoin. We hold it on our personal portfolios, balance sheet, however you want to look at it. But these new products are created and marketed and for a specific investor out there that can't or is kind of afraid of volatility or has certain, you know, variables that they need to hit with their capital. And he's tailoring these different products for these different investors. And so as you can see here, what is this? About $100 trillion that can flow into Bitcoin via these different strategy securities. Like it's absolutely, you know, a masterclass. It is genius here. And I mean, I can't pretend to even understand the full end game here, but I think this is going to be huge.
The reason that Saylor's stock like 20x'd, right, in like a matter of years is because he provided a product that was necessary for institutional capital to get exposure to Bitcoin because of the just regulations. So they didn't feel comfortable just buying spot Bitcoin and put it into self-custody. So what Saylor did was like, look, guys, you can get exposure to Bitcoin buying my stock. But that wasn't enough, right? There's people that want fixed income. There's people that, you know, there's different types of investors with different types of needs, and there's pros and cons to all the stocks, all the products that Saylor is releasing, right? And this is one of them. But this is absolutely massive what Opti is saying. I mean, that's 30x, bro. Like, imagine if we just captured 10x of that, you know, 5x of that, 6x of that, right? Numbers obviously going to go up. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we still have tons to cover. Apparently, Opti is going to talk about.
Well, we're really talking about paper Bitcoin, but it's, you know, that's the real theme here. But it's a good continuation. It is about corporate treasuries.
So we will be right back in just a second, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hit the culture. We have tons to talk about. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Smash that like button.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe. And you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io.
Okay, all right. So dovetailing rather the conversation we just had. I saw this morning on Twitter, and there's been a pushback from the community on this idea of whether these corporate treasuries are good. Are they buying the Bitcoin? Is it all paper Bitcoin, etc.? And I saw this, and I thought it's worth kind of talking about, considering what we just talked about with Saylor. So this is Jeff Park. He's over at Bitwise. Okay, he's head of alpha strategies at Bitwise. So it's not just some random here. And he goes on Bitcoin Treasury FUD. Now, FUD might be a strong word here, but that's what he tweeted. And he goes, why believing in Bitcoin treasuries is believing in capitalism and its fundamental freedom. Now, when I was, originally hearing about Saylor, you're like, yo, I don't get it. He's putting on a masterclass. Now he holds over 600,000, or will hold over 600,000 Bitcoin, which I think at this point is probably never going to get caught up to. And then everyone followed it, and I think our knee-jerk reaction was like, this probably is not going to end well. And now I think as more people dive into like the paper Bitcoin meme, I'm starting to kind of lean towards what this is saying. This starts to make more sense to me. So I'm going to read it here, and then we'll kind of discuss it a little bit, and then I think maybe show that they probably are buying all this Bitcoin. Anyways, Jeff Park tweets. It goes, I see a lot of FUD going around about Bitcoin treasury companies, especially the claim that they're just, quote, paper Bitcoin, creating 3x dilution through the MNAV premium. I get why people say this, but I'd like to shift the Overton window on the conversation. And, we just love Overton windows over here. So there are two foundational tenets of capitalism. There are two foundational tenets of capitalism you either accept or you don't. As basic human rights, the first is... Okay. The first is, one, do you believe in the value of a liquid public market? If so, then you must also accept that volatility is a feature, not a bug, as an inevitable byproduct of liquidity and price discovery. And if you believe that volatility can be harnessed, turned into income, then, quote, yield is not some distortion. It's a structural feature of monetizing public markets. The second is trickier. Do you believe in credit creation? In other words, do humans have the right to borrow and lend against their own assets? If the answer is yes, then credit is another fundamental expression of the freedom to trade and transact. It's important to draw a line between fiat-based credit creation, which is a form of systemic rot, and a price species system rooted in actual collateral. Bitcoin offers the potential to build a far more honest credit model than anything we've seen before. So yes, while Bitcoin Treasury companies are a capitalist innovation, that doesn't mean they must be a fiat system captive or anti-Bitcoin values. If you believe in open markets for all and freedom to trade and transact, then Bitcoin Treasury companies could become the most important and productive permanent capital vehicle for Bitcoin financialization. It's time to believe. And of course, Stephen Lubka, he's now at Nakamoto, and he goes, markets demand different risk profiles. As we just talked about, treasury companies being higher risk / volatility than Bitcoin isn't a bad thing. In the same way, preferreds being lower risk isn't a bad thing. Even if you are comfortable holding 100% Bitcoin, just understand the entire capital stack won't be. And that's exactly what Saylor just kind of showed in that one screenshot. And now going further, look, there probably is some paper Bitcoin in the system, but it does look like the exchanges are losing Bitcoin at a rapid rate right now. And at first, I did kind of have a knee-jerk reaction, and I'm still open to the possibility that there will be some copycats to this Bitcoin Treasury strategy that probably blow up. But I do lean to what Jeff Park said on here. Again, we are unabashful, unashamed capitalists here. And when you read it in this term, I don't necessarily think it's as bad of a thing as a lot of people are saying. Yes, on an individual level, I believe that you should just hold Bitcoin in, cold storage, hold the keys. It's not your Bitcoin if you don't hold the keys. But from the perspective of the very end of, or rather what Lovecut said, the whole capital stack is not necessarily comfortable with holding their own keys. And furthermore, they have these regulations that basically stop them from holding their own keys. And so if you kind of zoom out a little bit, yes, you may not agree with it, but I don't necessarily think it's as bad as it's been framed on Twitter. And actually, someone in the chat just sent me this, so I haven't read it yet. But this came out of Bitcoin Mag, and it's Bitcoin Treasury companies are bubbles. So you can see both sides of the aisle here. I'll have to read this article. I didn't actually read it yet, so the chat literally just gave it to me. I'll read it, and we'll chat about it later. But this idea here of if you are pro-capitalism, then of course Bitcoin Treasury companies are probably where the financialization of Bitcoin is going. Now, will people get over their skis and some people get wrecked? Yes, probably. But I don't necessarily think that it is this poison pill, this bad thing going on. I'm trying to really understand exactly what Saylor's doing, exactly what these Bitcoin Treasury companies market fit is. And it seems like they do have a market fit here. So I know a lot of people in the chat are saying, paper Bitcoin, it's all paper Bitcoin. You guys talk about self-custody of Bitcoin. I don't think it's an either or thing. I think it can be both of these scenarios playing out in real time. So I found that very interesting. And of course, we talked about Saylor's new STRD product. He's raising $4.2 billion. He's got 600,000 Bitcoin. I think it does start to paint a new light on what these things are and what they're doing and what niche they are kind of attacking here. And it is opening up a huge amount of capital to come into Bitcoin, which, of course, for all of us means the Bitcoin price is going to go up. So enough ranting here. Nico, I know you're a capitalist here. So what was your take hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this cycle has been, it's been positive, but also a little bit bittersweet. I think Bailey had the best line when it comes to this. It's like your favorite band just went mainstream, and there's always downsides to that and upsides, the kind of counterculture, which we're going to do our best to keep alive here at Simply. And, before I know it, me and Opti are wearing ties and stuff to the show. But the kind of counterculture that is Bitcoin, right? And this cyberpunk type of, mentality when the president of the United States is basically, saying like, yo, number go up, you're not really counterculture anymore. When Wall Street is like embracing it, when Jamie Dimon is admitting, okay, guys, like you can buy Bitcoin through my platform, like you win, like you're not really counterculture anymore. Like you've won the game. Now, what I will say is we have to be careful here. And I don't know, it doesn't matter how much I say this, like market forces are going to do what market forces do best. I just hope that Bitcoin doesn't become gold 2.0, where the reason that gold isn't significantly higher is because of the amount of paper gold, basically. And I hope that it doesn't get captured, institutionally captured, because that's what it looks like it's happening right now, right? Like, I didn't like, as much as I appreciate Saylor for all he's done in terms of promoting Bitcoin, I don't like his answer at the Bitcoin conference to Mitchell Hodl, where Mitchell Hodl was like, why don't you just make your reserves public? And he was like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, just ask AI, and AI, will tell you why that's a bad idea. Listen, I don't have experience in the capital markets, but I think I have common sense, and so does Opti. Like, Paolo from Tether literally copy pasted the Tether address that has 94,000 coins. El Salvador's reserves, country's reserves, are public for the world to verify. That should be the standard, because if you have accountability like that, and shout out to some, there has been some on-ramps that have been pushing this as well. Like and Ledin, our partner, like they have proof of reserves. You should have proof of reserves. Like there isn't with gold, you couldn't have that, because the proof of reserve would essentially been like the government auditing their own reserves and saying, hey, trust me, bro, here's the piece of paper. Like, this is a public ledger. It's not like, trust me, bro, like you can do proof of reserves if you do proof of reserves. And if that's the standard, I have nothing against Bitcoin Treasury companies. At the end of the day, like, look, I am a capitalist. I love capitalism. Capitalism is the only way for society to function in a non-coercive way, right? So, let these products come out. If you don't like them, don't buy them. That's the reality. Like, I'd say this to Opti all the time. I personally like spot Bitcoin. I've had spot Bitcoin, but looking at the MicroStrategy price go up, I'm like, dude, like that sucks. Like maybe if I just took 10% of my stack, 20% of my stack, put it in MicroStrategy, like that would have been nice, right? So yeah, I mean, but again, that goes against the Bitcoin ethos of not your keys, not your cheese, right? That kind of goes against where we came from, right? So yeah, man, I mean, it is a very interesting discussion to have. I definitely think there is paper Bitcoin without a shadow of a doubt. Now, is it going to be enough to suppress the price?
Forever?
I don't think so. Do I think paper Bitcoin is suppressing the price right now? Yes, 100%. I think the market has acted extremely weird since the ETF introductions in the beginning of 2024. But again, like there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So like eventually, like it's going to be like, wait a second. So MicroStrategy owns 5 million Bitcoin and this company owns 2 million, but that like, if you add all that up, it's more than 21 million. What's going on? What's happening here? Right. So there's only so much they can do with this, is my opinion. Someone in the chat says BTC plus MSTR plus MSTY is the way to go. P-Ran says, imagine having the largest Bitcoin stack with the president that just flipped on Elon. Johnny Lee Young says Satoshi's honeypot is in the wide open, a testament to the security of our blockchain. I love that comment. That was a good comment. Buck 52,000 says Saylor has revealed that he owns 17,000 Bitcoin purchased for 175 million at an average price of 9,000 per Bitcoin, April 2025. Yeah, someone agrees with us, says sounds like a workaround to the BTC scarcity rule. Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're going to cover. Eventually, the truth will get exposed. It is an open ledger, unlike gold's. It's not an open ledger. It really does follow the trust me bro model. The chain analysis stuff kind of allows a lot of people to. My eye is really bothering me today. It kind of allows people to, you know, analyze the chain, right? So anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed today's show, July 7, 2025, smash that like button. I'm your host, Nico. This is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields. I got to give a shout out to Opti for holding it down all of last week while I was traveling. I went to Canada for Bitcoin Rodeo. I am back this week, so I will be back on the show. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you feel like we provided you value. And we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.